And welcome to Utah Business Matters, your weekly television window to small business here in the state of Utah. And we come to you today from downtown Salt Lake City and Broadcast House, the home of the Arrow 103.5 on your FM dial and one of the longest tenured DJs in the state of Utah, Jumpin' JC.
It's the Arrow twofer machine. That's our ATM machine. I'll tell you all about it in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Come from a musical family. My dad was a big lounge lizard and, sang trailers for sale or rent. Music throughout the whole family. My sisters in church one time were asked to sing in church, and they got up and instead of singing church songs, they sang popular favorites. They jumped up and sang, "On the Coney Island washboard she would play. We could hear her on the boardwalk every day. Little soap suds all around." And my mom stood up and said, "That's a barbershop quartet song. You can't sing that." And they sang it, I guess they sang it barbershop quartet style.
According to a new study, 13% of us use obscene hand gestures while driving.
But I had no interest in radio whatsoever. My music teacher, his name was Alan Bixby, and he was a part-time DJ at the local radio station in Haley, Idaho, Kasky, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to quit my part-time job at the radio station, and is there anybody in class that would be interested in applying for the job?" He strongly urged that I go apply for the job. So I did, and they said, "You're awful. You are really horrible, and you're too young." I was 13, whatever, and you're way too young, and you can't read. You just can't read, so see ya. And it really made me mad. And one night, it was I think the summer of my sophomore year in high school. One night I got a call, and they said, "Hey, we just had a guy quit. You're on. And we need somebody on at 5 o'clock. And I was full-time in my radio career ever since that day, full-time. And at that point I was making, I think they were paying me $1.25 an hour. I'm going to call that guy and I need money. I need some money back for that. That wasn't enough back then. I'm going to sue him. I worked there, and I worked, a couple of radio stations in Idaho, and then I worked a couple of radio stations in Oregon, and I wound up in Utah in 1980. So 1980, this is 2012, so 30, carry the one, 32 years. So, give or take, maybe a little longer, I don't know. I actually didn't start in Salt Lake, though. I started at a radio station in Ogden. Love Ogden. KLO was my first radio station in Utah.
I didn't sign up for editing, but we can't take live calls on the Arrow because somebody might say booger. And booger, that's we can't have that.
I had a little motorcycle back then. I was a little Kawasaki 250, and I hopped on that thing, and I headed to Salt Lake City to look for a job. And I hit a couple of different radio stations in town on my way in as I worked my way through the valley, but I ended up at KRSP, and it was Rock 103 back then, and somebody had just quit and they needed a guy. They hooked Dan Bomas and I up in 1982, I think it was, or the latter part of 1981, and we started doing mornings together, and we worked together for about 16 years, and then he got sick of me and we had a divorce. No, Dan and I worked together 16 years. We're still really good friends, but those great things just can't last forever, and I really do miss him.
Things have gotten more corporate, and for John to still be doing what he's doing on the radio, and he's a morning icon, is simply amazing that it's happening.
It's the most competitive market in the U.S. So I think we're more competitive now than we were when they said we were competitive years ago. 53 signals, something like that, in the Salt Lake Metro. That's a lot of radio stations out there. Oh, the day starts early. The day starts early. And, it has all my life. I've gone through, sleep deprivation my whole life. Our neighbor, Michelle, came over the other day. Was last Friday, as a matter of fact. She goes, "You're eating dinner at 5 o'clock? Right on the dot, 5 o'clock?" I said, "Yeah, we have to eat dinner at 5 o'clock because I go to bed." "What time do you go to bed?" 7, 7:30. I try to tuck in at 7, 7:30. It just depends. Sometimes in the summer I can stay up 8:30, 9, but I'm dragging the next day. So just shift the clock about 3-4 hours the other way, and it's an early day for Jumpin' JC.
We were married 13 years ago in January. We met on a blind date, and I wasn't really sure I wanted to go. And my friend said, you have to go out with John Carter, just see what he's like.
I really have a fondness for the listeners that have stuck with me, you know, throughout all these years. Because they could go somewhere else easy, but you know, we have an affinity, and they know me and I know them. I mean, I can answer the phones right now and there'd be, you know, my 7 listeners, I know all their first names and where they live. In fact, sometimes we you know, have Dutch oven sticky chicken together on weekends.
Amazing to work with, and I feel really lucky that I'm working with the guy.
I'm honestly only as good as the commodity, the radio station. I'm only as good as the radio station, and the Arrow is a great station, and it's a heritage station. It's been around for a long time, and you know, I'm really only as good as it.
Sometimes it's kind of odd if you're shopping at Harmon's and someone comes up and they all of a sudden know who he is, and we're in the middle of family and disciplining kids or trying to determine what we're buying for dinner, and you kind of stop and think, oh yeah.
You've grown up listening to him, you know what he's done over the years, and we get that all the time with John, which is really amazing when we go out to events like concerts and stuff, how people will just come up and, oh, I remember listening to you, and you did this bit, or I want a CD from you, or I want an album.
How long can you do this? You know, I can't answer that. How long can Mick Jagger keep, you know, touring with the Rolling Stones? The guy's, you know, 70. You know, the drummer for the Stones, Charlie Watts, is 72.
Hey, I've got your John Carter Kickstart. I feel good today. I do. I don't know what it is. I got plenty of rest.
The time thing is kind of tough because, you know, the breaks need to be short. You know, you need to engage people fast and get them in and out of a break really fast. I mean, you know, you still want some personality into what you do, but you don't want it to be long. It's the toughest thing in the world to engage them quickly, be quick with your break, and then get to the next thing. A radio consultant once told me, but he probably told me this because he likes me, that if you can make it in Salt Lake City, you can probably make it anywhere because you know, it's such a competitive market.
It's pretty amazing, you know, the amount of people that he's touched over the years.
It's still fun to talk to people, and this is Arrow is a music station, so we play a lot of music, and it's great music, and so you know, it's a great combination for me. He's
a fabulous father and friend. I always say he loves to fish with my brothers, and I always say, you know, if we ever split, they're my brothers. But you know, I think the family is, all of my family just loves him, and he's so good with our kids, and we do so many family things together that he's not just, you know, the radio guy.
Come on, we're DJs. We're fired, you know, after a year and a half. You know, it's clockwork. A lot of guys in radio and women in radio just can't say that they've worked at one place 15 years. And my anniversary date was yesterday, 15 years here at the Arrow. Very proud of that, and just very proud and happy that I could be able to, you know, bring some entertainment to people over the last 32 years. It's been fun. It's been a ball. It's been a blast. I have absolutely no regrets.